My arm, they broke my arm. Maya Bennett forced the words onto her cracked phone with one trembling hand. Rain hammered the abandoned freight yard around her. Her left arm hung uselessly inside a torn cream scarf, every breath sending pain through her shoulder. Beyond the rusted shipping containers, the men who had attacked her were returning. Her phone showed 1% battery. Through blurred vision, she opened her recent contacts and pressed the name she believed belonged to emergency services. Emergency line. She did not remember saving that number 7 years earlier. Please help me. They're coming back. Her thumb struck send. The screen died. 40 floors above Mexico City, Rafael Alejandro Montoya sat at the head of a black marble table while politicians, financiers, and armed captains waited for him to speak. His private phone vibrated once. Almost nobody possessed that number. He glanced down, prepared to ignore it. Then he saw the sender's name, Maya Bennett. For the first time that night, Rafael's expression changed. He remembered a hospital corridor, his younger sister bleeding, an American nurse refusing to let her die, and a promise he had never repaid. Rafael stood. No one asked why. Within seconds, elevators opened, engines ignited, and 15 armored SUVs tore into the storm. Police dispatchers were still arguing over jurisdiction when Rafael's convoy crossed the final intersection. Maya saw headlights flood the freight yard and believed her attackers had returned. Then black doors opened. Disciplined men formed a wall around her. Before the first police cruiser reached the gate, Mexico's most feared Mafia King stepped into the rain holding the number she had forgotten. And the man who broke her arm realized they had just summoned the one man they could never outrun. 3 weeks earlier, the first person Maya Bennett helped that morning was not a patient. It was an elderly security guard standing outside St. Aurelia Community Clinic with a broken umbrella. Rain dripped through the bent metal frame while he struggled to cover himself. Maya silently placed her own umbrella in his hand. You'll need it more than I do. He tried to refuse. She was already walking through the clinic doors before he finished thanking her. That was Maya. She solved small problems before people admitted they needed help. Inside the emergency department, the waiting room was overflowing before sunrise. Construction workers, taxi drivers, street vendors, children with fevers, a pregnant woman clutching her stomach. Maya's shift had technically ended 43 minutes earlier. She stayed. She always stayed. By noon, she had stitched 3 deep cuts, stabilized a motorcycle victim, helped deliver a premature baby, and quietly paid for an elderly man's medication after hearing him whisper that he could not afford it. Nobody saw her place the money inside his prescription envelope. She preferred it that way. Kindness was not something Maya performed. It was simply how she lived. Only one person knew how exhausted she really was. Her younger brother, Ethan. Every evening, he called from Chicago while studying nursing. He believed a scholarship covered his tuition. It did not. Maya secretly worked extra shifts and sent the money herself. She never corrected him. Some lies protected the dignity of the people you loved. Late that afternoon, she finally left the clinic carrying a paper cup of coffee. Halfway across the street, she stopped. A black sedan sat beneath a dying jacaranda tree. Its engine was off. Its windows were too dark to see through. Nothing happened. The car simply waited. Maya continued walking. When she looked back, it was gone. She laughed quietly at herself. Mexico City contained thousands of black sedans. Her imagination was probably working overtime. Minutes later, her phone rang. Unknown number. Maya Bennett? Yes. Do you remember San Gabriel Hospital? Her smile disappeared. She had not heard that name in years. I volunteered there briefly. You saved a young girl's life. I helped many people. The caller breathed slowly. Some promises never disappear. The line went dead. Maya remained on the pavement, staring at the phone. She did not recognize the voice. But something about it felt familiar. That night, she returned to her apartment above an old bakery in Roma Norte. The hallway smelled of cinnamon and fresh bread. Everything appeared normal. Until she unlocked her door. Nothing had been stolen. Nothing had been broken. Nothing seemed disturbed. Yet Maya knew someone had entered. Her mother's photograph no longer faced the window. It faced the wall. Only Maya ever touched that frame. Her heartbeat slowed. Not from relief. From instinct. Someone wanted her to notice. She searched every room. The bedroom. Bathroom. Closets. Balcony. Empty. She lifted the photograph. Something fell from behind it. A faded white hospital identification bracelet. Not hers. 3 words had been written across the plastic. I remember you. Maya stood motionless. The bracelet carried the logo of San Gabriel Hospital, the same hospital mentioned by the caller. She immediately called building security. No one had seen a visitor. The hallway camera had stopped recording for exactly 11 minutes. She called the police. An officer promised someone would come. No one did. Maya locked every window before going to bed. Across the street, the black sedan quietly switched off its headlights. Inside the car, a man photographed her darkened apartment. Then he sent the image to a number stored under one name. Adrian Vale. The storm arrived just after sunset. By 9 o'clock, rain had swallowed the city. Maya tried convincing herself the bracelet and phone call meant nothing. People made mistakes. People played cruel jokes. Old hospital records sometimes resurfaced. She wanted to believe that. But before locking her apartment, she did something she had never done before. She checked the hallway. Empty. She checked the stairwell. Empty. She checked the bakery entrance below. Empty. Still, the feeling refused to leave. She locked the door, double-locked it, then pushed a dining chair beneath the handle. Outside, the rain grew heavier. Across the street, the black sedan returned. Its engine remained silent. Its lights stayed dark. Someone inside watched Maya's windows. At 10:14 p.m., she video-called Ethan. Her younger brother smiled immediately. You look exhausted. I always look exhausted. You worked another double shift. I'll survive. You always say that. He noticed the rain striking her window. You should sleep early. I will. Neither of them knew the call was being recorded from across the street. Before ending, Ethan hesitated. Are you okay? Maya almost told him everything. The bracelet. The sedan. The stranger's call. But if someone was watching her, they might search for him next. I'm fine. The lie came too easily. The call ended. Maya placed her phone on the kitchen counter. The apartment lights flickered. Once. Twice. Then darkness. Only the distant glow of the city entered through the rain-covered windows. The silence felt wrong. Too complete. Then came 3 slow knocks. Not loud. Not desperate. Almost polite. Maya Bennett? A man's voice. Building maintenance. She frowned. The bakery owner handled every repair. Never after dark. Maya did not answer. Another knock. Then silence. For almost 30 seconds, nothing happened. She slowly stepped backward. Her heartbeat became louder than the rain. Then the kitchen window exploded. Glass scattered across the floor. A black-clad figure climbed inside. Another followed. Flashlights swept across the apartment. Low voices. Professional. Controlled. Bedroom. Bathroom. Find the ledger. They were not thieves. Thieves rushed. These men searched methodically. Maya grabbed her phone. 2% battery. No signal. She slipped into the narrow hallway leading toward the fire escape. 1 floor below, another shadow climbed upward. They had surrounded the building. Her breathing quickened. She was not escaping. She was being hunted. The bedroom door burst open behind her. Footsteps closed rapidly. Maya climbed through the fire escape window as a gloved hand reached for her shoulder. Cold rain struck her face. The metal stairs shook beneath her feet. She climbed downward. Another man emerged below. Waiting. Behind her. Ahead of her. Trapped. The attacker above lunged. Maya jumped sideways toward the neighboring platform. Her right foot landed. The rusted railing snapped. Her body slammed against steel. A sharp crack cut through the storm. Pain exploded through her left arm. She screamed. The arm collapsed uselessly against her side. For several seconds, she could not breathe. The masked men approached. Neither carried a visible firearm. That frightened her more. They wanted information. One crouched beside her. Where's your father's ledger? I don't know what you're talking about. The second man searched her pockets. Wallet. Keys. Hospital badge. Nothing. No ledger. The first attacker studied her face. She truly doesn't know. A distant siren echoed across the district. Still several streets away. The men exchanged a glance. Leave her. Vale said no body unless necessary. They disappeared into the rain. Maya lay against the metal platform, trembling. The words repeated in her mind. Your father's ledger. Her father had vanished when she was 7. Her mother always claimed he had abandoned them. Before Maya could process the implication, a small cry rose from the apartment below. the elderly bakery owner's grandson, Mateo. He had been sleeping downstairs. Smoke had begun pouring through the shattered kitchen. The intruders had damaged an electrical line. Despite her broken arm, Maya forced herself upright. She could have crawled toward the street. Instead, she moved toward the child. Using one hand, she broke the lower window and called through the smoke. Mateo! Follow my voice. The frightened boy appeared near the staircase. Maya guided him onto the fire escape, shielding him with her body as sparks fell from above. Her vision blurred from pain. She lowered him toward a neighboring balcony until an adult pulled him to safety. Only then did Maya allow herself to collapse. Her cracked phone had fallen beneath the lowest staircase. 1% battery. Using her right arm, she crawled through the rain toward its weak glow. She unlocked the screen. Recent contacts appeared. Her vision faded. She pressed the name she believed belonged to emergency assistance. Emergency line. My arm. They broke my arm. Please help me. Her thumb touched send. The screen turned black. Behind her, footsteps returned. But this time, the men approaching were not alone. Far beyond the freight yard, 15 black SUVs had already begun moving through the storm. The phone went dark. The rain did not. Maya remained curled against the cold steel platform, her shattered left arm pressed tightly against her chest as waves of pain stole every steady breath. She tried to pull herself farther beneath the staircase, but her strength was disappearing. Then, the footsteps returned. Slow. Deliberate. Closer. She closed her eyes. So this was how it ended. Not inside a hospital. Not surrounded by family. Just rain. Steel. And strangers. One of the masked men stepped into view. He looked down at her. She's still alive. Another voice answered from somewhere behind him. Finish it. The first attacker took one step forward, then stopped. A deep vibration rolled through the flooded yard. Not thunder. Engines. Powerful engines. 1. 3. 7. More. Brilliant white headlights exploded through the darkness, swallowing the abandoned freight yard in harsh light. The attackers turned. For the first time that night, they looked afraid. What? No. One whispered. He's here. The second man's breathing changed. How? We destroyed the cameras. We changed vehicles. We left no trail. The answer came from neither of them. It came from the roar of 15 black armored SUVs sweeping through the warehouse gates with military precision. The convoy didn't slow. It divided. 4 vehicles sealed the northern exit. 4 sealed the south. 3 blocked the loading docks. The remaining SUVs formed a perfect defensive ring around Maya. Not a single tire screeched. Not a single bodyguard shouted. Everything happened with terrifying discipline. Doors opened simultaneously. Black-suited security operators stepped into the rain carrying compact carbines. Their weapons never pointed toward Maya. Only outward. Protecting. Watching. Waiting. One commander quietly spoke into his earpiece. Package confirmed. The attackers fled. None of Rafael's men chased them. That surprised Maya. Why let them escape? Because someone far more important was still lying on the ground. Her. Only after the perimeter was complete did the final escalade stop. Every bodyguard instinctively straightened. Silence spread through the storm. One rear door opened. Polished black shoes touched the flooded pavement. A tall man stepped into the rain. Long black overcoat. Tailored black suit. Calm. Unhurried. He walked toward Maya as though bullets, storms, and fear no longer belonged in his world. She tried to focus on his face. Everything blurred. Only his silhouette remained clear. He knelt beside her. Without speaking, he gently picked up her cracked phone. The dead screen reflected his eyes. Then he looked at her. Recognition. Not curiosity. Recognition. His voice remained low. You stayed alive. Maya blinked. I don't know you. A faint sadness crossed his face. No. You wouldn't. He carefully removed his gloves, wrapped his coat around her shoulders. Then, with extraordinary care, lifted her into his arms, making certain her broken arm never shifted. Across the street, the first police cruiser finally entered the freight district. The young officer behind the wheel instinctively reached for his radio. His partner quietly lowered it. Don't. They need help. They already have it. The younger officer frowned. Who is that? The older officer watched Rafael carrying Maya toward the Escalade. His voice became almost a whisper. The man even criminals pray never comes looking for them. Inside the vehicle, a gray-haired trauma surgeon was already waiting. Not because someone had called him. Because he had been traveling with the convoy from the beginning. Portable monitors unfolded. Medical lights illuminated. And 4-line was prepared before Rafael even sat down. The surgeon examined Maya's arm. Closed fracture. She'll recover. Rafael never took his eyes off Maya. Good. The convoy moved. Only after the final SUV disappeared into the rain. Did the police enter the freight yard? By then, the only thing left behind was shattered glass. And the mystery of why the most feared man in Mexico had crossed an entire city for one injured nurse. If you're enjoying this story, subscribe now. The mystery behind Maya's message is only beginning, and the reason Rafael came before the police will change everything you think you know about them both. The doors of the Escalade sealed shut, shutting out the storm. For the first time since her attackers had found her, Maya felt warmth. Soft amber lights illuminated the spacious interior. Hidden medical compartments unfolded from polished black cabinetry. Heart monitors activated automatically. Sterile instruments slid into place as if the vehicle had transformed into a miniature emergency room. The gray-haired trauma surgeon examined Maya's left arm with remarkable speed. Closed fracture. He looked toward Rafael. We'll need orthopedic surgery within the hour. Rafael nodded once. She gets the best. No publicity. No delays. No unnecessary attention. The surgeon smiled faintly. I already know. Maya stared at the sophisticated mobile trauma unit. What is this? The surgeon adjusted her temporary splint. A hospital that moves. Rafael remained silent. His attention never left Maya. For the first time, she studied him properly. He wasn't wearing expensive clothes to impress anyone. His suit fit perfectly because everything about him was disciplined. His hands carried old scars. His watch looked worn despite its obvious value. His eyes. They didn't belong to a man celebrating power. They belonged to someone carrying responsibility. You've been looking at me for a while, Rafael said quietly. Maya blinked. I've been trying to understand why someone like you came for someone like me. Before Rafael could answer, the convoy stopped. St. Aurelia Community Clinic had never looked like this. Doctors waited outside despite the rain. Nurses whispered among themselves. Security guards stood unnaturally straight. No one spoke loudly, not because they had been ordered, because Rafael Montoya had arrived. Hospital Director Isabel Romero hurried through the entrance herself. Mr. Montoya. Rafael inclined his head politely. Director. You've prepared the operating room? It has been ready since your convoy left the freight yard. Maya frowned. You prepared surgery before you even examined me? The surgeon smiled. We prepared because he never travels without a medical team. Maya looked toward Rafael again. Who exactly was this man? As orderlies wheeled Maya toward surgery, a piercing alarm echoed through the pediatric wing. A nurse shouted. Code blue. Several doctors sprinted toward room 12. Another nurse froze. The pediatric surgeon is still 20 minutes away. Inside the room, a 6-year-old boy recovering from congenital heart surgery had stopped breathing. Panic spread immediately. One doctor began chest compressions. Another searched desperately for equipment. Maya looked toward the child, then toward her own injured arm. Without hesitation, she pulled out her 4-line. The nurse gasped. You can't. You have a fractured arm. Maya ignored her. She crossed the corridor despite obvious pain. Rafael stepped forward. Maya. She didn't stop. Inside the room, everyone spoke at once. The monitor screamed. The child turned pale. Maya raised one hand. Everyone quiet. The room fell silent. She looked once. Then immediately pointed. The breathing tube isn't blocked. Everyone stared. She moved closer. It's disconnected behind the bed. A young resident checked. His face changed instantly. Oh my God. He reconnected the tube. The oxygen levels immediately began rising. Maya shook her head. Bag him. No. Slower. She adjusted the ventilation rhythm herself using only her right hand. The monitor stabilized. Then, a heartbeat. Strong. Regular. The child breathed again. The room became completely silent. Seconds later, the pediatric surgeon rushed through the door. He stopped. The crisis was already over. He looked at Maya's orthopedic splint. You did this? She smiled weakly. It was teamwork. The nurses knew better. Without Maya, the boy would have died. Outside the room, Rafael stood alone. Sophia had quietly arrived moments earlier. She watched Maya comforting the frightened child before finally allowing herself to be taken back for surgery. Sophia smiled. She's exactly the same. Rafael didn't answer. You've spent 7 years wondering if she changed. A long silence followed. Finally, he spoke. No. I spent 7 years hoping she hadn't. For the first time, respect became something deeper. Not romance. Admiration. Hours later, Maya awoke after surgery. Her left arm rested inside a professional orthopedic brace. The room was quiet. A leather-bound journal sat on the bedside table. Beside it, a single cup of untouched coffee. Someone had been waiting. The chair beside the bed creaked softly. Rafael stood near the window, watching rain slide down the glass. You stayed. I said I would. You never said that. No. He looked at her. But I promised someone else. Before Maya could ask who, the hospital room door opened. A young woman stepped inside carrying fresh coffee. The moment she saw Maya, the cup slipped from her hands. Coffee splashed across the floor. Tears filled her eyes. It really is you. Maya looked confused. I'm sorry. Have we met? The young woman nodded through tears. You held my hand. When everyone else thought I was going to die. The room became perfectly still. A forgotten hospital corridor flashed through Maya's memory. A frightened teenage girl. Blood. Rain. An emergency surgery. Recognition slowly appeared. You were. The young woman smiled. My name is Sophia, and 7 years ago, you saved my life. Before Maya could answer, Detective Gabriel Ortega entered carrying a sealed evidence bag. His expression had changed. We've identified our first piece of evidence. Everyone looked toward him. Inside the bag rested an old silver access card. Stamped across the front were 2 words. Montoya Logistics. No one spoke. Because if the evidence was genuine, the order to attack Maya had come from inside Rafael's own empire. No one spoke. The silver access card rested on Maya's bedside table like a loaded weapon. Montoya Logistics. Detective Gabriel Ortega folded his arms. We recovered it beneath the fire escape. His eyes settled on Rafael. It deserves an explanation. Every person in the room looked toward Rafael. He picked up the evidence bag, studied the card for several seconds, then quietly shook his head. This card is fake. Gabriel frowned. You identified that awfully fast. I designed every employee security system this organization has used for 12 years. He turned the card over. My access cards haven't been made from brushed aluminum in 3 years. He handed it back. They're carbon composite now. Silence. Gabriel immediately called the forensic laboratory. Run the manufacturing date. 10 minutes later his phone rang. His expression changed. The card is 8 years old. Rafael nodded. Someone wanted you looking at me. The evidence had never been proof. It had been bait. Later that afternoon, Maya insisted on leaving her room. The nurses protested. You need rest. I need fresh air. Still wearing her orthopedic brace, she slowly walked through the hospital corridor. As she passed the pediatric wing, she recognized the little boy whose life she had helped save. He smiled the moment he saw her, holding a crayon drawing. He walked over shyly. I made this. Maya accepted the drawing. It showed a nurse with curly hair standing beside a little boy beneath a bright yellow sun. Across the top, written in uneven handwriting, "Thank you for helping me breathe." Maya's eyes filled with tears. You should be resting, she whispered. The boy smiled. So should you. Rafael watched the exchange from the far end of the hallway. He said nothing. But Sophia noticed. You've been staring at her all day. Rafael answered without looking away. I'm watching someone who still saves people, even after someone tried to kill her. That evening, Rafael finally entered Maya's room carrying a weathered leather wallet. He placed it carefully on the bedside table. Inside rested an old hospital visitor pass. The edges had yellowed with age. Across the front, Maya recognized her own handwriting. Emergency contact, Rafael Montoya. Her breathing slowed. I remember this. Rafael nodded. The hospital phone system failed during the storm. You asked if there was another emergency number. I gave you mine. Maya closed her eyes. I saved it as emergency line. You never changed it. I forgot. A faint smile crossed Rafael's face. I didn't. For a long moment. Neither spoke. Everything suddenly made sense. The desperate message had never reached a stranger. It had reached the only man who had promised never to ignore her call. Their conversation was interrupted by hurried footsteps. Detective Elena Ruiz entered carrying a digital tablet. We recovered surveillance from a traffic camera. She placed it on the table. Video footage filled the screen. 1 hour before Maya's apartment was attacked. A white medical supply van stopped behind her building. A man wearing a delivery uniform climbed out carrying a medical equipment case. His face remained hidden beneath a baseball cap. Then, he looked up. Only for a second. Long enough. Facial recognition software completed the match. Victor Salazar, Director of Internal Intelligence for Montoya Logistics. Rafael's oldest intelligence officer. Sophia stepped backward. No. Gabriel looked toward Rafael. You trusted him. Rafael never blinked. For 11 years. His voice remained steady. But Maya noticed something no one else did. His right hand had quietly tightened around the old visitor pass until the worn leather bent beneath his fingers. He wasn't angry. He was hurt. Before anyone could process the revelation, another message arrived. Encrypted. Sent directly to Rafael's private phone. Only 7 words appeared. You protected the wrong woman, Rafael. The message disappeared 3 seconds later. No sender. No trace. Only one certainty remained. Someone inside Rafael's organization knew exactly where he was. And they wanted him to know the game had only just begun. If this twist surprised you, subscribe now. The next chapter changes everything, because Maya will uncover the one clue that every detective, every bodyguard, and even Rafael himself completely missed. Victor Salazar's face remained frozen on the conference room screen. No one spoke. For Rafael, the silence hurt more than the accusation. Victor had worked beside him for 11 years. He knew every safe house, every encrypted communication channel, every trusted captain, every weakness. Detective Gabriel Ortega finally broke the silence. If this footage is genuine, it is, Rafael answered quietly. You didn't even verify it. I don't need to. Rafael stepped closer to the screen. He zoomed in on Victor's wrist. The watch. Gabriel frowned. What about it? Victor never removed that titanium chronograph. Everyone looked closer. The reflection beneath Victor's sleeve matched perfectly. Rafael slowly closed his eyes. It really is him. For the first time since Maya's message arrived, hope gave way to certainty. Less than an hour later, Montoya headquarters became a fortress. Every employee surrendered identification. Every communication network shut down. Every security code changed. Nobody entered. Nobody left. Victor had already vanished. His office looked untouched. Laptop missing. Phone missing. Hard drives removed. No fingerprints. No files. Nothing. Almost. While investigators searched computers, Maya searched people. She walked slowly through the office, her left arm protected inside its orthopedic brace. She ignored the desk, ignored the monitors, ignored the empty safe. Instead, she noticed a coffee mug. Still warm. She touched it gently. He left less than 30 minutes before we arrived. Gabriel looked surprised. How do you know? The cream hasn't separated. The detective stared. She continued walking. Then stopped beside Victor's chair. She crouched carefully. A tiny stain marked one wheel. Hardly visible. She leaned closer. Then something else caught her attention. She inhaled slowly. Rafael watched her. What is it? Antiseptic. Gabriel frowned. We're inside an office. No. Maya shook her head. Military field antiseptic. She pointed toward a discarded gauze pad beneath the desk. This wasn't used in a hospital. She looked at Rafael. Someone treated an injured visitor here. She picked up the gauze with gloved fingers. The dressing was changed professionally. Not by Victor. Gabriel asked quietly. How can you tell? The knot. She pointed. Combat medics tie dressings differently from civilian nurses. The room became silent. Rafael immediately understood. If that's true, someone inside this conspiracy has military medical training. The suspect list instantly became smaller. Gabriel smiled faintly. We would never have found that. Rafael looked at Maya. You just changed the entire investigation. That afternoon, Judge Elena Navarro requested a private meeting. No headquarters. No courthouse. No phones. She chose an abandoned 19th century cathedral outside the city. Against Gabriel's advice, Maya insisted on going. If Victor knows every move Rafael makes, she looked directly at him. Then he'll expect you. A pause. He won't expect me. Rafael studied her for several seconds, then nodded. You're coming. The cathedral stood silent beneath gray skies. Rainwater dripped through its damaged roof. Judge Navarro waited alone. She carried no security. Only a worn leather folder. She handed it directly to Maya. Your father trusted hospitals. So do you. Maya opened the folder. Inside were emergency admission records, patient transfers, medical evacuation forms, children. Hundreds of children. Every document contained coded medical markings. At first, they appeared meaningless. Then Maya's breathing slowed. I know these codes. Everyone looked toward her. They're not financial records. They're trauma triage classifications. Judge Navarro nodded. Exactly. Maya turned another page. Every coded number represented a child who had disappeared after a declared natural disaster. Her father had not followed stolen money. He had followed stolen lives. The room fell silent. Before anyone could speak, a single gunshot shattered the cathedral window. Judge Navarro staggered. Blood spread across her shoulder. Everyone reacted. Except Maya. She ran toward the judge. Ignoring her own injured arm. Ignoring the gunfire. Ignoring Rafael shouting her name. She dropped beside the wounded judge. Pressure here. She tore fabric from her jacket. Compressed the wound. She's losing blood. But not the artery. One bodyguard reached for the judge. Maya stopped him. Not yet. She adjusted the pressure. Changed the angle. 30 seconds later, the bleeding slowed dramatically. The judge looked up. You just saved my life. Maya smiled. You still have work to do. Outside. The gunfire stopped. The attackers had already disappeared. They had never come to kill Rafael. They came for the folder. They failed. As Rafael looked toward the shattered cathedral entrance, he noticed tire tracks disappearing into the rain. The vehicle carried Montoya logistics plates. Victor wasn't hiding anymore. He was hunting them. The cathedral fell silent. Not because the danger had passed. Because everyone was listening for the next shot. Judge Elena Navarro leaned against the stone pillar Maya had dragged her behind. Her breathing had steadied, but the wound still needed surgery. Rafael's men secured every entrance. No one found the sniper. Only empty shell casings remained. Whoever had planned the ambush had already disappeared. Rafael looked at Maya. You ignored gunfire. You ignored your own injury. She calmly adjusted the bandage around Judge Navarro's shoulder. I've spent my entire career running toward emergencies. She looked up. If I stopped today, I wouldn't be me. For a moment, Rafael simply watched her. There was nothing left to say. He finally understood why Sofia had survived 7 years earlier. Maya never calculated whether someone deserved saving. She only asked whether they were still breathing. That evening, Montoya Estate became the safest place in Mexico. Or at least, it appeared that way. Every entrance doubled its security. Every vehicle underwent inspection. Every member of Rafael's organization surrendered their phones. No one complained. If Victor had infiltrated the empire once, he could do it again. Rafael gathered his 6 remaining senior commanders inside the war room. The leather folder rested in the center of the table. No copies. No photographs. No electronic devices. One by one, each commander placed his phone inside a sealed security case. Captain Luis Aranda hesitated. Barely a second. Almost invisible. But Maya noticed. She didn't interrupt. She simply remembered. Later that night, the rain finally stopped. For the first time in days, the estate gardens became quiet. Sofia found Maya sitting beside the reflecting pool. Moonlight shimmered across the water. You should be sleeping. Maya smiled. So should you. Sofia sat beside her. My brother hasn't smiled in years. Maya looked surprised. I don't think I've ever seen him smile. You haven't. Sofia laughed softly. But he's closer now than he's been in a long time. She reached into her coat pocket, carefully unfolding an old photograph. Maya immediately recognized it. San Gabriel Hospital. 7 years earlier. A frightened teenage Sofia sitting on a hospital bed. Beside her, A younger Maya still wearing blue trauma scrubs. I never knew anyone took this. Sophia looked toward the lights inside the estate. My brother did. He kept it? Every year. Maya stared at the photograph. The edges had become soft from being handled countless times. Rafael hadn't simply remembered her. He had carried that memory for 7 years. Not because he expected to see her again. Because gratitude had become part of who he was. Before Maya could speak, the night exploded. A deafening blast shook the western wall. Windows shattered. The gardens lit up with orange fire. Security alarms screamed. Bodyguards sprinted toward defensive positions. Families living inside the estate rushed toward underground shelters. Smoke rolled across the fountains. Rafael appeared almost instantly. He didn't look at the flames. He looked at the pattern. His eyes tracked the explosions. West wall. North gate. Garden entrance. Then realization struck. This isn't an attack. Gabriel frowned. What do you mean? They're pushing us. Another explosion. Eastern corridor. Exactly where Maya stood. They're hurting everyone. Rafael's voice became sharp. They want separation. He ran. For the first time in the story, he ran. Maya. She turned toward his voice. Too late. 3 masked figures emerged from the smoke. Flash grenades exploded. White light swallowed the gardens. Rafael threw one bodyguard aside to protect him from the blast. His ears rang. His vision blurred. He forced himself forward. By the time the smoke began clearing, the garden was empty. Maya was gone. Only one thing remained. The faded hospital photograph floated gently across the reflecting pool. Rafael picked it up with trembling hands. A secure radio clipped to his belt crackled. Victor's voice. Calm. Measured. You still think I'm your enemy. Rafael's expression hardened. What have you done? I didn't take Maya. A pause. Adrian Vale did. Another pause. If you want her alive, stop looking for me. The transmission ended. For several seconds, no one moved. Gabriel looked toward Rafael. What now? Rafael slowly folded the photograph, placed it inside his coat over his heart, then removed his father's old mechanical watch. He stared at its worn face. The watch had stopped. Exactly 11 years earlier. The night his father died. He whispered so quietly only he could hear it. I promised I'd never lose another innocent life. He closed the watch, fastened it back onto his wrist. His eyes lifted. The grief disappeared. Only purpose remained. Prepare every team. His voice became calm again. We're bringing her home. If this story has kept you on the edge of your seat, subscribe now. The final chapters reveal the truth behind Maya's father, Victor's loyalty, and the promise Rafael has carried for 11 years. For the first time in 11 years, Rafael Alejandro Montoya made a call he had sworn he would never make again. He unlocked a secure satellite phone hidden inside his father's old study. Only 3 people in Mexico knew the number. Only one was still alive. The call connected after a single ring. A calm voice answered. I wondered how long it would take. Rafael didn't waste a word. I need every airport, private airstrip, freight terminal, and border crossing watched. The voice remained quiet. Officially. I can't help you. Rafael looked down at the faded hospital photograph inside his hand. Unofficially? A pause. Then. You'll have 90 minutes. The line disconnected. Within half an hour, private aviation authorities reported unexpected inspections. Cargo ports delayed departures. Border security received anonymous intelligence bulletins. Victor wasn't escaping Mexico. Neither was Adrian Vale. Every route outward had quietly begun closing. Exactly as Rafael intended. Miles away. Maya slowly opened her eyes. Darkness. Cold concrete beneath her. Her wrists weren't tied. Her feet weren't restrained. That bothered her more than ropes would have. People only left prisoners untied when escape was impossible. She forced herself to breathe slowly. Panic clouded judgment. Observation created options. The room smelled of old paper. Dust. Leather. Not a warehouse. Not a prison. An archive. Rows of towering shelves surrounded her. Thousands of aging files. Metal cabinets. Collapsed ceiling beams. Then, a desk lamp switched on. Victor Salazar stepped from the shadows. Perfect suit. Calm expression. Empty hands. You finally woke up. Maya stood slowly. You kidnapped me. Victor shook his head. No. I intercepted you. You expect me to believe that? I expect you to listen. He placed an enormous weathered leather ledger on the table between them. This is what Adrian Vale has spent 20 years trying to destroy. Maya carefully opened it. Photographs. Hospital records. Birth certificates. Emergency evacuation logs. Children. Hundreds of children. Each page carried coded trauma classifications. Each child had vanished after a natural disaster. Her breathing slowed. This isn't accounting. Victor nodded. No. It's evidence. Your father spent 12 years documenting children who disappeared after disasters. He believed someone was stealing relief funds. Victor looked directly at her. He was wrong. Maya frowned. What do you mean? They weren't stealing money. They were stealing lives. Silence. They erased identities. They created new ones. Children became invisible. Maya's hands trembled as she turned another page. Every coded medical notation suddenly made sense. Her father hadn't left his family. He had uncovered something so enormous. People had chosen to erase him instead. Back at Montoya headquarters, Judge Elena Navarro reopened Maya's father's notes. She suddenly froze. I've been reading these incorrectly. Gabriel leaned closer. What did you find? She circled one of the coded numbers. These aren't financial references. They're emergency trauma classifications. Rafael immediately looked up. Maya. Judge Navarro nodded. Only someone with trauma medicine would recognize them. Rafael's eyes narrowed. They never wanted Maya dead. Gabriel looked confused. They wanted her alive. Because she's the only person who can finish her father's work. Everything changed. The attack. The kidnapping. The broken arm. The wrong number. Nothing had been random. Inside the archive, Victor quietly closed the ledger. I never betrayed Rafael. Maya looked up sharply. I betrayed Adrian Vale. Silence. For 11 years. I pretended to serve him. I fed Rafael just enough information to keep him alive. While searching for your father, Maya struggled to process the confession. Then why hide the truth? Because Adrian always watched me. Victor lowered his voice. If he believed I had switched sides, everyone I tried to protect would die. Before Maya could answer, the light suddenly failed. Complete darkness. Victor drew his pistol instantly. Not toward Maya. Toward the entrance. A calm voice echoed through the abandoned hospital. You've disappointed me, Victor. Footsteps. Measured. Confident. Adrian Vale stepped into the emergency lighting, dressed in an immaculate navy suit. Behind him, a dozen heavily armed mercenaries silently filled the corridor. Vale smiled. I've finally found everyone I've been looking for. The abandoned hospital became silent, not peaceful. Waiting. Adrian Vale stood beneath the flickering emergency lights, his polished shoes untouched by the dust covering the cracked floor. He looked first at Maya, then at Victor. Finally, at the weathered leather ledger resting on the table. So much suffering, Vale said calmly. Because one little notebook refused to disappear. Maya stepped protectively in front of it. You murdered children. Vale almost smiled. No. I gave them new lives. You erased them. I gave them opportunities. Victor's voice hardened. You sold them. For the first time, Adrian's smile disappeared. You always were sentimental. He raised one hand. His mercenaries advanced. Outside, 15 black armored SUVs rolled silently into position around the abandoned San Gabriel Hospital. Their headlights remained off. No shouting. No sirens. No dramatic entrance. Rafael studied the old building through rain-speckled binoculars. He recognized every hallway. Every emergency entrance. Every operating wing. Years earlier, he had carried his dying sister through these same doors. Tonight, he had returned to save the woman who once saved her. He looked toward Gabriel. No unnecessary shooting. The evidence matters. The witnesses matter. She matters. Gabriel nodded. Within seconds, Montoya's tactical teams disappeared into the darkness. Inside the archive, Vale slowly approached Maya. You've inherited your father's courage. Unfortunately, you also inherited his refusal to surrender. He extended one hand. The ledger. Maya didn't move. Vale sighed. I truly hoped you would choose differently. He nodded once. The mercenaries raised their weapons. Victor stepped between them. You'll have to kill me first. Vale looked disappointed. I already did. He pressed a small remote hidden inside his palm. A sharp electronic tone echoed. Victor staggered. Blood spread beneath his jacket. Maya stared in shock. The tracker. Victor managed a painful smile. He implanted it. Years ago. Vale had never trusted anyone. Not even his most loyal servant. Gunfire erupted. The archive exploded into chaos. Mercenaries rushed forward. Victor returned fire while forcing Maya toward a reinforced records room. Go. I'm not leaving you. You promised to save people. Not me. Maya hesitated. Then remembered something. Her father had always said, the truth only survives if someone carries it out alive. She grabbed the ledger. Ran. At that exact moment, a steel security door exploded inward. Rafael entered first. His movements remained calm, precise. Every shot he fired disabled a weapon. Never wasted. Never reckless. His men secured the corridors with disciplined efficiency. Within seconds, the mercenaries lost their advantage. Vale turned. For the first time, fear crossed his face. Rafael. You should have stayed out of this. Rafael answered quietly. You should have stayed away from her. Vale bolted toward the underground exit. Maya intercepted him. Her injured arm still rested inside its orthopedic brace. She knew she couldn't overpower him. She didn't need to. She noticed an emergency fire suppression lever beside the doorway. One pull. The entire corridor filled with dense white suppressant foam. Automatic blast doors slammed shut. Vale found himself trapped inside the archive. No. He pounded against reinforced steel. Outside. Federal agents led by Detective Gabriel Ortega finally entered. This time. They weren't too late. Judge Elena Navarro handed Gabriel the original patient files. Everything is here. DNA records. Birth certificates. Medical transfers. The evidence was complete. Adrian Vale looked around the room. No escape remained. He lowered his head. Not in regret. In defeat. Federal officers placed him in handcuffs. His empire ended without another shot. Victor collapsed against the wall. Blood soaked his shirt. Maya reached him first. She checked his breathing. Listened. Then froze. Tension pneumothorax. Gabriel looked confused. What? His lung is collapsing. Nearby stood an abandoned trauma cart left from the hospital years earlier. Most instruments had rusted. One sterile decompression needle remained sealed inside emergency packaging. Without hesitation, Maya opened it. Rafael knelt beside her. What do you need? Hold him steady. Victor smiled weakly. I suppose. This is where the nurse saves the spy. Maya inserted the needle with practiced precision. Air escaped. Victor gasped. His breathing stabilized almost immediately. She looked at Rafael. He'll live. Victor reached weakly into his pocket. He handed Rafael a small brass key. Locker 317. Your father's final investigation. I kept my promise. Rafael closed Victor's hand around his own. And I almost forgot yours. 3 months later. International investigations identified hundreds of missing children. Families reunited after decades. Government officials resigned. Corrupt charities collapsed. The trafficking network was dismantled across multiple countries. San Gabriel Hospital reopened. Not as a private facility. As the Maya Bennett Center for Child Recovery, dedicated to reuniting displaced children with their families. Victor testified. His 11-year deception finally made sense. Justice did not erase the lives already lost. But it stopped more from disappearing. Only one promise remained unfinished. Rafael looked at the repaired black phone resting on Maya's table. The contact still read. Emergency line. Maya smiled. Opened the contact. Renamed it. Rafael Alejandro Montoya. She looked toward him. You know. I finally remembered who that number belonged to. Rafael smiled. This time. You won't forget. Their eyes met. No dramatic kiss. No rushed confession. Only two people who had survived the same storm. Together. 6 months later. The rain was gone. For the first time in years, sunlight filled the courtyard of the newly reopened San Gabriel Center for Child Recovery. Children laughed where silence had once lived. Families embraced after years of believing they would never see each other again. Photographs covered the memorial wall. Not of victims. Of survivors. Maya Bennett stood quietly beneath the old jacaranda tree, her left arm completely healed except for a faint scar that she no longer tried to hide. The scar reminded her that surviving wasn't the same as living. Living meant choosing hope anyway. Inside the center, a young nurse hurried toward her. "There's a little girl asking for you." Maya smiled. "Bring her in." The frightened child clutched a worn teddy bear. "Are you the nurse who finds lost families?" Maya knelt to meet her eyes. "We all do that here." The little girl wrapped her arms around Maya. In that moment, Maya understood something her father had spent his life trying to prove. Saving one person could echo through generations. Across the courtyard, a familiar black SUV stopped beneath the trees. Rafael Alejandro Montoya stepped out alone. No convoy. No bodyguards. No display of power. Just a man who had come to keep one final promise. He carried a small wooden box. Inside rested the mechanical watch that had belonged to his father. "It stopped the night I lost him," Rafael said quietly. "I spent years believing I could never move forward while it remained broken." He looked at Maya. "I had it repaired." He fastened it around his own wrist. "It reminds me that time doesn't erase pain. It gives us another chance to decide what we do with it." Maya reached into her coat pocket and removed the repaired black phone that had changed both their lives. The contact still displayed emergency line. She smiled. Then slowly renamed it. Rafael Alejandro Montoya. She looked up. "I finally remembered who I was trying to call." Rafael laughed softly. "And this time, you called the right number." Neither of them rushed toward romance. Neither promised forever. Some relationships are built on gratitude, others on trust. The strongest are built because two people refuse to let each other face darkness alone. As they walked through the center together, children laughed around them instead of sirens echoing through the rain. The storm that had begun with 5 desperate words had ended with something far stronger than fear. Not power. Not revenge. Hope. Because sometimes, the wrong number isn't a mistake. It's the moment destiny finally finds the courage to answer. Fade to black. If you enjoy emotionally powerful mafia stories where every clue matters, every choice has consequences, and every ending leaves a lasting impact, subscribe for the next cinematic story. Your next unforgettable journey is only one story away.